Alright people, time to see the best city planning you've ever seen. Now look, I may live in a mediocre American city, but that doesn't mean I can't imagine better. I may not be born at the right time to live in a model American city where no matter where I live, there's a fast food burger accessible within a short 10-minute walk, but that doesn't stop me from trying to create a city where that is possible. Thankfully, I got City Skylines here to help me prove that I can make a fantastic city that will make everyone want to live here. Or, more likely, that I don't know what I'm doing and should keep my ideas in video games. You guys decide if you'd want to live in my city and let me know.
Also like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.
So the plan was to make a super environmentally friendly city, and I decided to try this on an archipelago because what is fun without a lot of challenges? And since I wanted to do such an environmentally friendly city, I felt inspired to dedicate this city to a man who would dream of creating something like this. Now, because I'm American, I can only imagine starting my city through a series of straight roads, and we start with one island being totally dedicated to businesses and industry, while the other is for the people to actually live in. Now, this may not be the most ideal city, but come on, a small town on an island, who wouldn't want to live here? And once I got the basic services set up, people were coming in droves. But now that the people are moving in, I gotta start taking care of them. Apparently, with like social services. I mean, the fact that they get the privilege of living in my city should be good enough for them, but apparently when people pay taxes, they want something more than that back, so I give them a school, a fire department, and like police, I guess. And you know what I get in return for this? Garbage. Actual garbage. These people are polluting my beautiful city and landscape. I mean, I can recycle some of it, but now look at this beach. They're polluting it. And it's not my fault that I put the sewage outlet there, it's on them for actually using it. Now, to minimize the harm they're doing, I encourage people to be more environmentally conscious. I mean, look at the pollution we're already creating in such a small community. But these policies force me to be more conscious about my budget since I'm hemorrhaging money. The solution to this was simple. I needed to raise taxes on the people. But surprisingly, this solution was received with some mixed opinions by my residents. I thought I could just ignore them and they'd shut up eventually, but once people started leaving, I figured I'd probably made a mistake. And sure enough, the population just skyrocketed from there. But the expansion in residents didn't quite make up for the loss in revenue, and because of this, some services take a hit. So when the people see that dead guy in the pharmacy rotting there for a week, I hope they think that our tax cut was worth it. I mean, you only have yourself to blame here, William. And things don't get easier for the city. I decide to give the kids some entertainment by putting down a playground, and right next to it somebody gets a house fire, and that results in the playground being on fire and every tree around it also being on fire. And the fire department is just kind of staring at it and not doing anything to stop the forest fire. People start complaining about taxes again, and I'm blaming this on the fire department because people weren't complaining about the taxes until they failed to stop the forest fire. After several minutes of struggling with how to upgrade this road on a small incline, I do manage to get a good main street going through the city to support the growing population. And I know it will benefit everybody, just ignore those frowny faces, because those frowns will turn upside down once they see this new bus route I'm putting up. With the town closing in on 2,000 people, it was time to stretch our legs into somewhere new. Of course, I still had to follow tradition, straight roads only, but I did have a bit of an angle for this intersection to kind of mix things up. I also tried to experiment with denser building types on this island to cram as many people as I could on this island because I was desperate for space. As I expand, I know people might be concerned about how I'm keeping the environment healthy. I mean, I'm doing all this urban expansion, but I'm still taking care of the environment by planting trees, and I even got a new sewage outlet. It even says it's an eco outlet, so you know it's good. And with more public transportation, that meant fewer cars polluting the air. But even when you help the people, they will find new ways to complain. But the haters don't matter because the city was growing anyways. With the boost in money, I figured it was time to build a tram to work with the buses, but upon making the tram station, I realized I don't know how trams work, so I needed to build a bunch of roads so the trams could actually function. But once I did fix the roads and got that tram line up and running, it looked really good. Maybe there is something to this whole public transportation thing after all. I then attempted an experiment to make a new pedestrian community where people could live without needing to buy a car. But apparently, in my plans to build up the city, I kind of forgot to build the healthcare. So now people are getting sick, and since I don't really have the money for it at the moment, they're just gonna have to tough it out. In this new neighborhood, things were not going well. In addition to the sick people, there was also a lot of crime. Poplar Boulevard was turning into a PvP zone, and the bodies were starting to stack up. And then another fire started up, and the people were helpless to do anything to stop it, so it just spread to the nearby forest. I was wondering why the fire department wasn't even bothering to show up. I mean, a forest fire should justify some sort of response, right? Well, after everything burned down, I finally realized that apparently this street was not connected to the main road of the city, so perhaps the 2 feet of sidewalk was preventing this whole neighborhood from receiving any help from the police, fire department, and any doctors in the town. So I had to rebuild it all, making sure it was actually connected to the city. A bigger city meant bigger possibilities, like making sure people were using electric cars and filtering our industrial waste to keep our air clean. We also made sure that everyone was paying their fair share in taxes. We can't let people move to the Congos as a way to avoid their fair share. Even the people driving by on the highway need to be paying up to build this city. I mean, I was doing great things with their money. People needed more recreation, so I decided to build a fishing pier, but the roads didn't want to connect with it in this area, so I put it in a place where they did connect. I mean, yeah, there was a bunch of sewage in the area, but the people didn't really need to catch the fish anyways. However, I guess people were not happy with me spending money on projects like that because they were leaving the city now. I couldn't let this continue on, so I made a persuasive argument for them to stay, and that made me advance to the next level of the city. Although I made great strides to keep the city green, I wanted to do better. I put out a garbage collector to keep the ocean clean, and I noticed there was a lot of traffic building up on the bridge, and I wanted to do something about it. I realized that the cheat code to take care of traffic, instead of building more lanes, I reduced the demand for cars. So I just demolished the first suburban neighborhood I built and replaced it with pedestrian apartments. And with that, combined with the new bridge I built to connect the islands, traffic was a thing of the past. But enough of all these green energy projects. It was time to undo some of it by making an airfield so I can get more people in the city. Now, I made a terrible mistake of picking this island to make the airfield in, and by the time I placed the airfield, I felt too committed to this area to not at least try. But this caused a lot of issues, like me trying to shape the island and flooding the terminal. And the first version of the airport, well, did not look good. I don't think a plane could even fly from here, but despite this, the game is gaslighting me, saying it was operating normally, and apparently there's a lot of crime going on in here. I guess because people were showing up to fly in a plane, but instead they find out there are no planes, so they just got robbed. I do actually manage to fix this airport so planes will actually take off from it, but crime is still a problem here, so I take the drastic measure to just put the police department right in front of the airport, and that works. With this airfield setup, I thought it was about time to get some more entertainment so people might actually want to come to the city, as a tourist. So I set up the stage for artists to come and play their music, and people may look at the location and think, wow, a concert between a busy road and an airport, what a great spot to listen to music. And those people need to shut up because the tourists won't know that coming in. Instead, they'll be thinking they're coming to the cleanest city ever with us bragging about our new zero pollution initiative. I mean, with this new sewage pipe, there will barely be anything in the water, and the people fishing nearby will actually be able to catch something. Also, I did make sure the tourists get their own little nice island to enjoy their stay, so it ain't all bad for them. As the city approached 10,000 people, I figured it was about time to get another island before things got too crowded again. And at this point, I feel the game is getting sick of all the straight roads I'm making because it forced me to put a little bit of a curve at the end of this road. I guess the game is just trying to break my habits little by little. Still, I started simple, building a nice pedestrian apartment area and a commercial area to attract new residents to live here. But when I made a new industrial area, it just started looking like Detroit. I needed to attract more people to the area, and I figured since this was a big island, why don't I actually try to build a proper airfield since the other one was so scuffed? I just became a colossal city, so when people first arrive, I have to beat their expectations of a city this size, and I spared no expense putting down a very nice looking terminal. And then I connected it to the city with roads that completely undid how nice the area looked. Also, there's a high chance people are just going to get robbed when you go through this airport, but that just works in my favor because if they get robbed here, then they have to buy stuff in my city, boosting my economy. And the money was actually being spent well. Despite the airplanes, I had created a very eco-friendly city. I mean, we barely had any pollution around in the environment. So when I finally got that airport to level 3, I was actually able to make money off of all the people traveling to Gore City. We have a discounted rate on our tickets because we can't guarantee you'll get here with all your luggage, so you can use the money you saved to buy what you lost in the stores next to the airport. With this done, I felt pretty satisfied with how this city turned out. Yeah, there were a lot of missteps on the way here, but I felt okay by the end of it. And I hope you guys did enjoy this journey, about me making my first city in the game. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe to see more future content of mine, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.